Now, what I want to do, I want to show you few games played by Bobby Fischer. Of course, everybody familiar with his My 60 Most Memorable Games. But what I want, the games I want to show you, they are not the best of his games. There are some critical games and some games that show his genius, or how talented he was. And these games are, I think they are most memorable for me, at least. Now, get the board, and I want to share with you some of most interesting games of Bobby Fischer. When talking about Fischer's games, when I was preparing to choose some of his most interesting games, I had great difficulties. I had a lot of games to choose from, and at the same time I did not want to take his most famous wins. No, I picked the games according to my own taste and according to originality of Fischer's play. This may not be, they are pretty good games and very, very high quality games, but may not have been his best games. But the criteria I chose was his originality and amazing preciseness. Oh, those are, to me, are very exciting and very powerful games. Well, as you know, when you say best games, there is always there is no set criteria that you can go by. So this is my opinion, and objectively I think they're one of the best games that ever been played in chess. Well, let's take them in random order. This was played in interzonal tournament in 1967 against Mongolian player. At that time, he was pretty strong international master, Myanmar Suren, and it was played in 1967, French. As you know, Fischer played many, many games against French defense. He's never played it himself, but himself with black French defense. But normally he plays d4. But in this game, Fischer played d3, d5, and so-called King's Indian attack. Knight d2, knight f6, g3, c5, bishop g2, knight c6, knight f3, bishop e7, white castled, and black castled. e5, knight d7, rook e1, b5, knight f1, b4, h4, a5, bishop f4, a4. Now, this position is very typical for King's Indian attack players. I've played this myself, and normally you go here with knight g5, preparing queen h5, and forcing black to play h6 at some point. What Fischer did here, he played a3. He tried to slow down black's counterattack. a3 is not necessary move. We could have played knight g5, but anyway, Bobby played a3, b takes a, b takes a, and knight to a5. Black is preparing c4 to organize some play on the queen side, and after d4 maybe c3, trying knight c4.
Well, knight a5 was played for that reason. Knight e3. After knight e3, bishop a6, bishop h3, d4, and knight to f1. So temporarily center is closed, but black could have played here c4 and give up the pawn. Maybe would have been the best chance, but black underestimated white's attack on the queen side and played knight b6, putting knight on d5. Knight g5, knight d5, and bishop d2. Now let's see the intensity with which Bobby played this attack. He was 14 years old, and this is one of the most powerful and most direct assault on a king side you can ever see. After bishop d2, bishop takes g5, bishop takes g5. Well, possibility is h takes g with idea of going knight h2, knight g4, and knight f6. But bishop takes g5 is what Bobby chose, and queen d7 and queen h5. Here, it's obvious that white wants to go knight h2, knight g4, and checkmate black's king. Rook f2 c8 was played. I don't like this move. I think better was c4, because this is absolute emergency for black, which when they realized was already too late. Rook f2 c8, knight d2, and here is knight going to e4. After knight d2, I think black's position is lost. Knight c3, and from now on it's hard to see, hard to imagine that black will be busted in a few moves. Bishop f6, very strong. Now g takes f loses. Well, I don't know how much Mr. Marsuren was calculating when he didn't take the bishop, but I'm sure Bobby saw it all through, and this is actually very powerful attack and very powerful way to continue this. If gf was taken, then after ef and king h8, how does white continue? Bishop f5, this is the key move of the combination, and I'm 100% sure Bobby saw it all. Bishop f5, bishop has to be taken, and now rook e7, queen d8. Now on rook takes f7, maybe queen g8, but now knight f3 and knight g5, and on queen g8, knight g5. And now on queen g6, knight takes f7. This is all forced, and after king g8, white simply can exchange queens, go knight e5, and you see there is a forced mate threat by rook g7, followed by knight takes g6 check and f7 check. So black's move rook a7 is forced, and white can simply take on a7, and after bishop b7 take another piece, and white is easily winning. Actually, this is the variation. It's very complex combination that was I'm saying that I'm 100% sure Fischer saw it all, and I'm not sure about his opponent. It could have been that his opponent was aware of it. Well, bishop f6, is very, very strong move, and here there is no defense for black. So if g takes f loses, then queen g5 is threatening. So queen e8 was played. Now knight e4. And as you can see now, knight g5 is a threat, knight d6 is a threat. Black is forced to take. Now rook takes e4. You see the rook is coming too now. Of course this is totally lost now. g6, queen to g5, not queen h6 because queen f8, queen to g5, and c4. Now, I'm sure there are several different ways to play to win this position, but it's amazing how Fischer finds the shortest way. At this age, at the age of 14, he finds the shortest, most precise, and most effective enforcing way. h5, c takes d, rook h4, rook a7. Well, why not d takes c? Actually, rook a7 was played, and bishop g2. Well, now he did play rook d takes c. Well, he could have played d takes c immediately. And here comes the idea why it would, in this position, white play bishop g2 and not simply take on d3. If take on d3, then black's bishop comes for help, if it counts for anything, but bishop g2 is amazingly effective and absolutely devastating in this position, because after d takes c, queen h6, it's a forced mate. What does bishop have to do on g2? Because on queen f8, queen takes h7 check. Every move is forced. King takes, pawn takes g6 double check. On king h8, rook h8 mate, and king takes g6, bishop e4 mate. That's why bishop g2. And after h takes g, black simply resigned here. Very powerful game. Maybe not difficult attack, but it's not difficult to attack in those positions, but it's how precise and how like a surgical precision was made in this attack. It's absolutely great game in my opinion. Now, next game was played against American Sam Schweber, was very strong player at that time. It was played in 1970. Bobby was then 17 years old. He was already one of the top players in the world, and it was played. Game was played, I believe, he was played in Argentina. This is one of my most favorites and always has been. I remember when in 1970, well, I was then 16 years old, when the game was published, I was closely following all the strong players, and especially Bobby Fischer. When I saw this game, then it was like enormously influenced me. I always was following and amazed with Bobby Fischer's preciseness. I never tried to copy his style, because copying, I knew better than that. Copying anybody's style is a bad mistake, because that's how you cannot alter your brain. So your style is one, his style is the other one. Admiring, yes. Copying, no. A lot of people tried, and even Americans, some IMs I know, they tried to copy Bobby Fischer's games and play exactly like this. No one has ever succeeded. No one has ever succeeded in copying anybody's style in the world. Well, they tried to copy Spassky style, Tal style. That simply does not work and never will. I don't believe in it. So anyway, let's look at the Bobby's game against Sam Schweber. E4, E6. D4, D5. That's again, it's French defense. Bishop B4, E5, C5, A3. Bishop takes C3. Pawn takes C3. Queen C7, Knight F3. Knight C6, Bishop E2. Well, the game is developing in a slow phase now. Bishop D7, castle. Knight G7, A4, trying to put bishop on A3. Knight A5, Rook E1. C takes D, Knight C4. Bishop D3. H6, Knight D2, trying to eliminate the pasty knight on C4. Well, actually, what White may do next, maybe they will take this knight with a bishop and go Knight E4, trying with Knight D6 and Bishop A3. Schweber, in this position, simply played Knight takes D2, Bishop takes D2, and Knight C6. From now on, Fischer played this game absolutely flawlessly, and that's what amazed me, his preciseness in getting a positional advantage and ending with some tremendous combination. Queen G4, G6. Rook E3. You see how he is very direct. He wants to go Rook H3 or Rook F3, having very strong attack. Castle. Rook G3. King B8. Rook F3. Rook G3 might have been a mistake. Maybe Rook F3 was better right away. But this is the type of position which is closed, and I don't think this tempo makes big difference. But I want to tell you, Fischer he did not play Rook F3 in this position. He played Rook G3. But on King B8, it's a Rook F3. Now he played with King on B8. This is absolutely genius. And the reason why he provokes Black for the next combination, but he calculated a lot further. A combination would not have been possible with King on C8. The combination is possible only with King on B8. F5 was played by Schweber, and that's what Fischer was waiting for. Obviously, Queen F4 or Queen H4 is out of question because of G5, and Queen takes G6 also out of question because in all these cases, D4 pawn falls. So that's what Fischer was waiting for, F5, and he played en passant, and now E5. And Black wants to go E4, but also they want to play Knight takes D4. And look at this, how deep Fischer calculated this. Queen G3, of course he was expecting Knight takes D4, and now Rook E3. You see the E5 pawn is hanging, and Black is in bad shape here because on the move that Schweber played, and I'm sure Schweber calculated, it looks very good for Black. Now, the bishop is hanging. If bishop moves, then C2 pawn is hanging. but rook takes e4. This is the key of Fischer's combination when he played rook to f3. Well, this when he played rook to f3, that was after that it was all calculated. Now rook takes c4, queen takes g3. Obviously, taking rook immediately is not good because of bishop f4. And now, what can black do but take the queen? And now rook takes d4. This is the key of whole combination. What happens here? Why this combination is so powerful? Well, white has only one minor piece for the queen. Black cannot maintain queen because white is going to play bishop f4 next move. So what is here for black to do? After queen takes g3, rook takes d4, queen g4 was played. Because if queen goes anywhere else, then black has to give its queen for the bishop. Here, at least they will get the rook. Rook takes g4, bishop takes g4. Now, what did white do here? Let me explain you why this game is so much a favorite of mine. This game is my favorite game because it's not only the way he set up the combination, the trap for combination, it's how combination work with tremendous tactical shot and with Fischer's ability to evaluate the final position of the combination being exchanged down as favorable for him. Bishop takes g6. And so all this long combination and setup was for this position where white has 2 pawns for exchange and winning position. Actually, it's not winning, it's just better for white. Rook h to g8, bishop h7, rook h8, bishop d3, rook d to e8. And here, well, we played f7, and on rook e7, played f8 queen. Idea after rook takes f8, bishop b4, getting the exchange back, and rook ff7, bishop takes c7, rook takes c7, and all this ended up with extra pawn for white, and I should say this is an easily winning position, and the rest is not as important. This is technically win position. f3, king f2, and white starts pushing these pawns, and game was over very shortly. This is one of my most favorite games ever played in chess. Beautiful combination, absolutely impeccable evaluation, and great execution in the end. This is one of the best games I think ever played, and I am very much amazed why this game did not get recognition as one of the best games ever played. To me, it was.